You are listening to Get Out of Your Own Way, the podcast about self-sabotage, emotional intelligence, and overcoming our limiting beliefs to pursue the lives we were meant for. My name is Brianna Wiest, and my book on self-sabotage, The Mountain Is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery, will be out in June. Today, we are here to talk about the real reason why people sabotage their progress in life. So, we probably need to start with just a fundamental about what self-sabotage is. We all do it, and we all do it all of the time. But the problem is that we don't realize we're doing it. Very often in life, when we think that we're coming up on repeated patterns of problems, we're actually looking at a pattern in our own behavior that we're just completely unaware of. So self-sabotage is simply setting up an unconscious obstruction to meeting our own goal. It's when we want to eat healthier, and then we find ourselves out at the bar, having our third drink of the night, thinking, I promised myself I wouldn't do this again. It's when we want to be in a loving and healthy relationship, and we keep getting back into relationships with people that we know can't commit to us. In each of these scenarios, what's happening is that the behavior is meeting an unconscious need. We just don't know what that need is. So we see it on the outside as maybe setting up unrealistic expectations, really negative thinking, uprooting, which is a topic that we're going to talk about in more detail later, perfectionism, or defying our own will. So on the outside, looking in, it kind of seems like we have low self-esteem. We're being masochistic. We don't have enough will. We're not strong enough in our convictions. And what's actually happening is that the behavior that we can't stop engaging in is, in all reality, meeting a need for us, and we have to find out what that need is to completely overcome it. So why do we self-sabotage? Well, human beings are built to be self-serving. That's the most important thing you can understand, to understand not only yourself, but really other people. People generally do whatever it is they want to do, kind of irregardless of the consequences. You see this at a macro level, when people start wars or, kind of big, huge issues like that. And you see it on a micro level when people are unfaithful to someone. People really genuinely do whatever they really feel deep down they want or need to do. Another great example is if someone wants to be with you, they will do whatever they must in order to be with you. And if they don't, they'll find any excuse not to. Like, they're doing just whatever they want to be doing. So in all of our actions, there is a motive for absolutely everything we do. And the two most fundamental human motives are to stay safe and to feel accepted. So most other motives boil down to one of those two, and most of your self-sabotaging behaviors can be broken down into one of those two. So the honest reason why people sabotage their progress in life is because they don't want to progress to that specific goal. So sometimes it's irrational. Sometimes we believe falsely that taking a leap in our careers will be unsafe because it's different and we're not used to it. Sure, that's how we might feel, but logically we understand that until we take that leap, we really aren't going to reap the greater benefits of it. So sometimes the feeling of wanting to stay safe is actually irrational. And sometimes it's very rational. Sometimes it's, I don't feel comfortable with this because fundamentally it's not the right thing for me to do. Maybe I'm not committing to this relationship because deep down I know this isn't the right person for me. I'm not making progress in my career because I know this isn't what I want to be doing. And maybe in that moment, we just don't see another way forward. We just don't see, who we could be with or what we would want to be doing. So when it comes to really overcoming our self-sabotaging behaviors, there's really one question that we need to ask ourselves, which is, why don't I want the thing that I say I want? What is it within me that actually doesn't desire what I'm trying to work toward? Because it's something. Because if you were 100% in alignment and commitment to your goal, whatever that goal was, you would defy any obstacle to get there. You know, a great example that I love to use is kind of the mother ripping off the car door to save a child. Those kind of feats of extraordinary human will. I believe that's in all of us. And I believe that when we have a clear goal, we really stop at nothing to get it. But what holds us back are these little pieces of us that aren't fully in alignment yet. So our behaviors are showing us something about what we need. And we need to honor that, and we need to observe it. And when we really start listening, we can actually start rebuilding our lives to reflect what we actually want. So we think in our heads, well, I need to take this next promotion because this is what everyone expects, and this is the next level for me, and I would be making more money this way. And yet if there's something deep within us that is like, I don't even want to be in this field anymore, I don't want to be in this industry anymore, I don't care about this isn't what I want to do, we're going to really hold ourselves back from taking the step that we logically think we need to. Why? Because what we really want isn't that kind of grand success, but like deep fulfillment. And we think that instead of the deep fulfillment, we can replace it with kind of a big, extraordinary success. And that's really not ever true. Another great one is when people desire something like fame. You hear a lot of people saying, you know, I want to be known for my art. I want to be very, very successful and seen by many, many people. They often actually don't want that, which is why they're not taking the steps to achieve it. What they really want is to be loved and accepted by just a few people. And because they can't get that, they scale it out to wanting it kind of on a mass scale. So what happens with famous people? What do we all know? Walk into a grocery store, you see a tabloid. Famous people aren't really well liked. People who are super successful, other people go out of their way to humanize them. We try to pick apart, you know, how they look, or what they do or don't have, their relationships. We get envious. Think about the people in your own circle, in your own life, who you know, who are a few steps ahead of you, maybe a few steps kind of toward where you would like to be. Is your impulse with them to say, wow, you know, good for you? If it is, congratulations, that's exactly where you want to be. For most people, it's not. For most people, you reach for the thing to humanize them. You see this with women a lot, which is, let's say they're a mother and, you know, a wife and, you know, doing really well at their career. It's always, well, she couldn't possibly be a great mother and great at her career. You know, she's got to be failing in some way. We always try to look for the way that that person might be failing. So to be well-known and successful really actually doesn't match up with being well-liked. It just doesn't. Maybe you're admired, maybe you're respected, but liked, loved? Not always. And so if the deep need is actually to be liked and loved, what is the thing we're going to sabotage? Being more well-known. And so we're sitting there thinking, why can't I move my career forward? It's because there's this deep web of need. You know, people do it in other ways too, moving. They do it with their appearance a lot too, which is they want to actually like heal, the way I put it is heal their way out of being human. You know, they think that completely transforming the way they look is going to completely transform their lives. And really it's just all these surface level issues of desiring acceptance, desiring lovability. And so we have to start realizing that, yes, our fundamental human needs to be safe and to be accepted, it's always going to be a part of us. But the world is different now. We aren't fighting for our survival kind of like at the dawn of time, you know what I mean? We're not hunting and gathering for our food anymore. Things have changed. Now, our safety is like social safety, and our acceptance is social acceptance. So in the way that we might have been triggered by seeing a predator in the wild, we're probably now triggered by seeing a troll on Instagram. It gives us the same reaction because that safety and acceptance, we associate it with survival. We need to be within the group. We need to be loved by the group. That's what we were born to do. And today, it's just taking on this whole new life of, do I look good enough? Do I seem worthy enough? Am I liked? Am I accepted? So when we start looking at the need that the behavior is serving, we can start really asking ourselves important questions. What am I missing in this moment? What is it that I genuinely want to do but feel that I can't? What progress do I want to be making? Why don't I believe that this is possible? Am I lacking will? Am I lacking discipline? Am I showing myself that in some way I'm disregarding my long-term well-being in pursuit of kind of a temporary high? When we start looking at our self-sabotaging behaviors, we find that within them is really this well of wisdom. We can learn so much about ourselves, what we really want, what we really care about. So I want to talk now about a few of the ways, the most common beliefs, I would say, that lead people to these self-sabotaging behaviors. So the first one is, you planned a life for a person that you no longer are. So this is such a common one. We have dreams and ideas about what our lives should be that we kind of develop when we're really young. We pick up on it from our parents, from our peers. We think that we should hit certain milestones by a certain age. We should work in a certain field because people told us that was what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to have this kind of job. We're supposed to be married by this time. We're supposed to own a house by this time. And maybe even as you got older, maybe you went to school for a certain major. Maybe you thought you would live in one certain area. Maybe you thought you would be with one person or another. So you designed this life. And then as the years went on, you realized that you had completely outgrown it. And you never stopped to realize that when you were young, you were designing a life for a person you didn't know yet. You were not fully in yourself. You didn't know yourself. You didn't know what you would even want or what you would even care about or who you'd be compatible with. And now as the years have gone on, you've grown and you've developed yourself and you've gotten more deeply acquainted with what you really want out of life. And you start to find that it's not matching up anymore. And you're holding on to it so tightly because you think that this is the only way that life can go. Because you've kind of set in your head, well, this is my standard of success. This is my standard of happiness. But you have to let it go. You owe your younger self nothing. You certainly do not owe them honoring a life that doesn't make sense for them anymore. Another really popular one is not believing that life can fundamentally be good. We always think there has to be enough bad to balance out the good, or if a series of really positive things happen in our lives, we're always kind of looking around. We're like, all right, what's going to go wrong now? What's going to fall through now? Life can't possibly just be good. What we're actually doing is using worry as a defense mechanism. So the last time we didn't worry about the thing we're worried about, that situation came out of left field and surprised us. So it was out of our awareness, and then it kind of hit us out of nowhere. And now to make sure that that doesn't happen again, what we want to do is keep our attention on it. We want to not let it go. We want to just keep thinking about it as much as humanly possible. So we want to let go of worrying, right? We're like, all this negative thinking, it's just really weighing me down. It's so irrational. It's not helping me. It's just completely eroding my quality of life. But every time we try to stop worrying, we find that we don't feel better. We feel more vulnerable, and then we actually start gripping more tightly onto the idea of whatever we're afraid of. We're doing this because deep down, we do not think that life can fundamentally be good, that we can just overcome our problems and then they're gone. And we don't think this because, of course, there are times in life that are out of our control where we'll grieve the loss of someone. Something will happen that's out of our control, but most of our lives is within our control. And the more that we believe that life as a whole can be good, it expands our capacity for simply allowing it to be good and not doing the worst trifecta of seeking out the good, seeking out the bad, focusing on the bad, and then actually creating the bad, simply out of our belief. So we need to start asking ourselves, what kind of life would be too good to be true? Because that's usually what we want. And the secret is that it's not too good to be true. We absolutely can achieve it, and people do all of the time. And your story, up until now, may have been a back and forth of you trying to make progress and then being held back. It might have been, something really tragic or painful did come into your life, and you didn't expect it and you didn't plan for it. But you have to understand that focusing on it is not what's going to keep it away from you. It's exaggerating it, it's making it more likely, and you're using your energy really in a completely unproductive way. Because the way to actually shield yourself from the unknown is to stabilize your life. It is to step forward in a positive way. It's to start doing the work that you care about. It's to start getting financially stable. It's to start investing in the right relationships. And the more that you do that, the stronger your life becomes. And if something comes that's painful or unexpected, the stronger and more stable and positive your life is, the better you're going to be able to handle it. You are only going to be completely unequipped to handle it. If you're scared of it, and if you're thinking about it all the time, it's going to totally derail you. So in this process of getting acquainted with what we really want and building a strong life for ourselves, we have to allow for a process of trial and error. This is the most common question that I hear all of the time. But how do I know what I want? You reflect. You give yourself space. You soul search. You read. You look at what other people around you are doing. You travel if you can. You see the world and what people are doing in it. And you start to differentiate, well, I like this and I don't like this. And I'm good at this and I'm not great at this. And I care about this and I don't care about this. And when you start to have greater self-awareness, and that's really actually the last part of my self-sabotage book that's coming out is about emotional intelligence and self-awareness, because we only get ourselves into this spot in the beginning because we don't fundamentally understand ourselves and what we want and need. So when we're in that trial and error process of exploring, trying new things, discovering new things about ourselves, we need to let go of the way that others may perceive it. We need to let go of what we thought we wanted growing up. We need to let go of the idea that we're failing or we're not living up to someone else's idea of who we should be. We need to recommit to goals that make sense for the people that we are today. We have to understand that, to reference the example that I used at the beginning, when we're doing work that fundamentally fulfills us, that desire to be really well known or successful in kind of like a worldly external way, it will probably most likely dissolve. So as we're going about our lives, we might not be achieving that level of success that we said that we wanted so badly. And so we're looking around on the outside and thinking, have I failed myself? Am I not successful? What are people thinking of me? What are my parents thinking of me? What would my younger self be thinking of me? And that's when we have to reconnect to the fact that we have succeeded beyond what we had initially set out for ourselves, because we were willing to let go of the way things would look to connect with how they would feel. And I really believe that for most people, their genuine desires and intentions for their lives are actually quite simple. And we think we need so much and we want so much. But I find that doesn't fill people. It really doesn't. It almost empties them more because they think I have so much and I still feel nothing. And what most people want are these so simple concepts. I want to accept myself. I want to see myself for who I am and show up as that person in my full authenticity. I usually find that to be the first one. I want to show up in my full authenticity. I want to be who I am and be able and feel free to be who I am on a daily basis. I want powerful connections with a few people that I love and trust. No one really wants or even cares about, having a million friends or being the most popular. It doesn't really do anything for people. But having genuine connections with just a few people, that's life-changing. And people generally want to do work that makes them feel like they're not only using their skills and their gifts, but they're making a difference. They're making a difference in their lives and the lives of other people. And that can be so simple. It can happen in such small, subtle ways. But these are the things that we really care about. It's depth and it's meaning and its purpose. And when we're not turning inward and discovering what those might be for us in our lives, we turn outward and try to compensate. We want bigger, we want better, we want bolder, and then we run into a wall. We run into a block where we can't force ourselves to keep trying to achieve, to fill this hole inside of us, because it's not filling it. It's not getting better. It's only getting worse. We're only actually moving farther and farther away. So the real reason that people sabotage their progress in life is because they do not fundamentally want, at some level, the thing that they think that they want. There is some competing desire within them that's winning out. And the only way to really overcome it is to connect to what that desire is, identify the need that it's serving, and meet that need first. Because another example would be if you want to put your work out there, but you're afraid of being seen because you're not comfortable with who you are, meet the need of accepting yourself first, and then see what happens after that. See what happens after that. See if you naturally just start showing up. And then also you can see if it doesn't interest you anymore, because actually what you wanted was your own self-acceptance, and you have it now. That will truly show you what you really want and don't. But you have to meet that basic, simple need. I work with a number of coaches and mentors, and one that I'm working with right now says to me all the time, Brianna, the healing and ascending process is simple. And people make it out to be this complex and difficult thing. And you have to reconnect to the simplicity of it. And it's only then do you feel capable enough of actually healing and actually fixing this. And if we go into this thinking, I'm struggling so much, I'm having such a hard time, I just keep hitting wall after wall after wall, nothing I try to do works to make change. It's going to feel more and more and more impossible. But if we remember that it's simple, and we have to reconnect to our simple, most basic needs, and they're generally similar for most human beings, but they differ from person to person. We meet ourselves where we're at. We give ourselves what we really, truly desire. And then we've actually freed ourselves to naturally pursue what we want. And what I really find over and over and over again is when we release the deep need, the problem on the surface that we think is this huge obstacle that we can't get over, it goes away on its own. When we release maybe the fear of being judged for our work and not putting it out there, when we release that, we kind of effortlessly just start being productive. We don't have to force ourselves. It's just this natural flow and extension of who we are. There was just a fear block that was standing in the way. So the real reason that people sabotage their progress in life is because they have an unconscious motive to do so. Connect to the motive, solve the problem, the actual problem, not the symptom, and everything else is going to take care of itself with time.